Hello and welcome to another episode of Me Dark Presents Scary Movie Madness.
Oh, snap.
You love the Oh Snap.
It's like a new tagline for me.
When did Oh Snap start? 90s?
Yeah, it's got to be a 90s thing. It's got to be like a kid. It feels like a kid in play thing or something.
Yeah, it's very old school.
Yeah. But I'm bringing it back.
All right. Well, we got festivities in the house.
Yeah.
I think you can see some of it around us, some of the Halloween decor.
Can't give too many sneak peeks to the friends and fam.
Got a big Halloween party coming up.
Super big.
Which is fun because we didn't get to have one last year.
Like nothing we've ever done before.
I noticed we skipped a bunch of years for weird... 2 years, yeah, for weird reasons. They were always the even years. The 2018 was when I got sick. Mm-hmm. And then 2020. So it's like we're only doing the odd years lately.
So annoying.
Yeah. Before we get started, we got 3 movies that I want to talk about on this one. But before we get started, I really wanted to talk about this Squid Game show.
We're so late to the game.
Is it? I thought it just came out.
I mean, I feel like there's so many people that have seen it end to end, but yeah.
I mean, for us, we got on this pretty quickly because usually it does take us a little while.
Yeah, like I saw it and thought it was just one of those Korean or Japanese
South Korean
game shows, because like they have the crazy wild game shows. So I'm like, Squid Game, oh, it's probably some weird gonna contort my body into this hole and not get smashed in the face.
It's the opposite. Yeah, it's the opposite of that.
Well, it is that, only you really die. So it's not a wipeout into water.
South Korea, I mean, I got to check out more of their films because the 2 that I did watch, Parasite, which was that one that blew up huge at the Oscars that one year. I think it won Best Picture, which it has to be unprecedented for a foreign film to win Best Picture. You didn't watch that one with me, did you?
No.
And the other one is Train to Busan, that zombie movie. I don't think you watched that with me either. You're not a big zombies fan.
I hate zombies.
But I will say I think Train to Busan is probably my favorite zombie movie. And Parasite was amazing. Parasite, not really horror, though.
But I think Japanese and Korean horror movies are some of the best because they're savage. That's really what it comes down to. It's not the American dream of there's always a hero in the end. So most of the time I end up liking it because it's as realistic as it gets.
Yeah, you're going to go through some shit.
Yeah. 100%.
It's not going to be a cookie cutter thing. And Squid Game, it's kind of like Parasite and kind of like Train to Busan. They feel original. They feel like things that you haven't seen a million times before. I'm sure there's things that are derivative. Obviously, there's that old saying that there's only 7 stories that you can tell, and you just tell them in all different interesting kind of ways.
I mean, I guess that's kind of this. You could probably liken it to some things that you've seen in some pieces, but I do think overall it's so original in a lot of what it's doing. I think it's
amazing.
Filmed so beautifully. It actually honestly, with subtitles. I know so many people hate watching subtitles.
I love subtitles.
I don't mind it because it means that I actually am not going to miss what's happening. I did read that the translation makes a lot of the movie kind of lost in translation.
Really?
Yeah, that there's more people who are fluent in Korean and English talking about how the subtitles don't really tell the story in the right way.
Interesting.
So there's a lot that if you think it's good from the subtitles, if you actually knew Korean, it's better. Probably even better. So I'm intrigued. I can't wait actually for someone to kind of YouTube the series with actual translation. It's gonna happen. But either way, you don't feel that you're watching something in Korean. I feel like after the first episode, it was just
you kind of just forget about it.
I'm totally just in it, reading the subtitle and so engaged in what's happening.
Yeah, so many people that I talk to about it that I tell to watch, that's always the hang up. It's it's subtitles. I don't know if I want to do subtitles. I got to be in the mood for subtitles. But that's what I always, which I get. But I think you're right. With this series specifically, you forget that you're even reading after a while.
Yeah.
It is very engaging. The way that it opens, with the first episode and just the savagery of that alone, it's gonna hook you in.
Yeah.
I remember I will say this. For me, I didn't like the second episode at all.
Yeah, the second episode was slow for how the first episode played
and
out.
I even going back now, because everything else after that is still so great.
Yeah.
It's really, that's the one hang up I have with the series is like, I don't understand really why they even had to do this.
They'll leave and go back.
Yeah. But other than that, I mean, what a crazy
Dude
crazy
had something
fun
to say.
show.
You just missed it. He had an opinion.
He's making his first season 2 podcast appearance.
Yes, he's very needy today.
He's very needy every day.
No, it's like extra right now.
Oh
I
my
don't know what his problem
goodness.
is. But yeah, I mean, overall, I agree. I think it's so worth watching, even if like, you know, it's not horror, right? It's not.
I think it is. I think it's horrific.
I mean, it is horrific, but would you classify it as a horror series? Like, I don't know if it's a horror series.
I don't know.
There's less of the horrific moments than there is.
It's tough because I
character
think
development.
I think in America, horror gets classified as a certain thing.
You have to be a monster, and it has to be like blood every 5 seconds for it to be horror. But yeah, horror is like shit that could really happen and fuck you up.
I think that's just it is. Especially, I have a lot of friends that don't really watch horror movies, and they have a certain idea of what horror movies are. And there is, yes, in the mainstream, there's a certain type of horror movie that gets, you know, the top billing of, you know, we talked about this. The slashers are always a big deal. You know, there's another Halloween movie coming out, I think this Friday.
Yeah.
They just brought back the Candyman. So like, these are the things that people put as horror in their mind.
Yeah.
But for me, I think the beauty of the horror genre is always how you can place it as a mix, like you can mix it in with any other genre.
Yeah.
And it really just can play so well in different ways. It doesn't always have to be the guy with the mask who's stalking you. It can manifest in a lot of different ways.
I mean, this falls into exploitation.
Yeah,
like
definitely.
it's you know, if you want to watch those horror movies that are scary because like it could happen to you tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
That's the genre for you.
So let's talk about one of those movies because we watched Till Death.
Megan Fox.
This just came out this year. I believe you could watch it on Netflix. It is directed by S.K. Dale. This is the first feature film.
Yep.
Written by Jason Carvey, and it does star Megan Fox, as you mentioned. She plays the character of Emma. And Emma is part of this toxic marriage with her husband, Mark, played by Ian Mackin. Setup is that Emma is cheating on Mark with one of his colleagues or coworkers named Tom. And, you know, this movie, you know, the setup is fine, but ultimately we get to like the cabin in the woods or like the middle of nowhere kind of secluded property again, which I kind of,
blah, blah, blah.
They had to do for this concept to work. And it is a cool. I mean, what do you think of this concept? Because ultimately, the majority of the movie is, you know, she's handcuffed to her dead husband.
Yeah.
Right. He's set this whole thing up.
It's basically again till death. If I can't have you, no one will.
Right. Literally.
And again, like absolutely horrifying. It was a little bit taken from this. I think it's Stephen King. What was that movie I watched? Where
Gerald's Game?
Is that what it is? I don't know.
With
I'm thinking about it right now. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I hate that.
Why is it taken from that?
Oh, because she is handcuffed to the bed, and
she's not handcuffed to him.
She's not handcuffed to him. She's handcuffed to the bed. So it's
and is it the same thing? He's sort of getting revenge on her for cheating, or
I forget, but it's something like that. Like he dies, and you know she's like, "Fuck, I'm handcuffed to this bed," and panic ensues. Dog comes in, like eats the body and shit. Super weird. There's a lot of things that go wrong there, but again, like that secluded cabin kind of vibe. So, but I think what they do in this one is Megan Fox just plays more of a like undisturbed badass about it.
Yeah,
she's just like, God damn it, this fuck. Here we go again.
Which kind of bothered me a little bit.
No, I love it.
You love because okay,
she obviously doesn't love him. That's
she
the
doesn't
premise.
love him. It's a loveless marriage. They're out for their anniversary, right? This is like a getaway for the anniversary, and you know he's plotted this whole thing that she's unaware of. First of all, before we even get into this, when they first get to the house, there's 9 million candles lit. Do you remember this? All over the house.
I never understand this in movies anywhere. In about 30 minutes, those candles are melted to the fucking floor. So like, who's going back around the house to blow out all those candles? Not me.
And when did he have time to set this up?
No, he doesn't. Like, I guess he has money. He paid somebody.
I guess.
But then you paid someone who knows that you're out there and you kill yourself and leave your wife to die. Not really the smartest plan.
I mean, it's super elaborate. They are literally everywhere. So they are, like you said, they're on the floor. Well,
maybe he just thought eventually the house would burn down. That was one of his other.
And who did blow out all the candles is what I want to know. Like, who went through? I think miraculously the next morning the candles are just not there anymore.
I mean, I guess because they melted down to the ground.
I don't know.
Science.
I don't think you think that they would all melt down in one night.
I'm being ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. Like, the whole thing is crazy. Like, it doesn't make sense. The only thing that can logically sit in your mind is to say, he thought, well, if she gets out of this, there's always this, and if she gets out of this, then there's always this. And he just had a series of very unfortunate events for her to go through. Maybe the candles was like, well, maybe the house will burn down.
I don't know. I just thought it was just so real.
Or like, just assume that she woke up like after at some point.
I mean, it's so clearly a set piece. It's so clearly like, you know, the romance and the ambiance of the getaway and the anniversary thing. I get it. It looks kind of cool on film. It just feasibly, this is the eggs and the bacon in the same pan again, right? It's like there's just something so unrealistic about this. Yeah,
it's just like, no, I hate that. I like, it's so dumb.
Not to mention he sets up like a dark room with photos hanging everywhere of him and her. This photography darkroom area. I'm like, this is just random.
Maybe he's a photographer and they just, you know, you're supposed to assume.
He's not. He's a lawyer. And first of all, listen, I have a lot of lawyer friends. My sister's a lawyer. These are not the most creative, artistic people in the world.
Great.
I will
We're going to get downvoted
that.
again.
All right.
You're talking shit.
I'm sure there is somewhere out there a very creative lawyer. But I've yet to meet one. One of your
friends is. He acts, he sings.
Could you imagine him like with a photography dark room in his house?
No. No.
So when they wake up the next day, you know, he blows his brains out right in front of her, like to the point where like the blood it sprays on her face, but only on half of her face, like perfectly.
Megan Fox. So
that was the next thing is like, oh, it perfect. Like there's literally a straight line of like his blood on one side.
We got to preserve the looks here.
But I don't know. I think it still did bother me that like, even like, let's say you have one of these broken marriages like this. Obviously, you know, things have just gotten so wrong. And maybe she doesn't have any love for him or care for him. But he just killed himself. He just blew his brains out right in front of you. At the very least, you just witnessed something traumatizing, right? So even if, let's say, you're just walking down the street and a guy just pulls out a gun and blows his brains out in front of you, are you just going to act like this where it's like, oh, well, I guess it's just another day? Like, that's pretty much how she acts.
I mean, I guess not. I don't know. I feel like if you like really hate someone though, like it feels like, I don't know, if that happened with like an ex in my life, I probably would have just walked away like, sorry for you, pal. Sorry. But like, you were a piece of shit.
I mean, what a way to get revenge in the first place.
I know, it's mean. I shouldn't say that.
Well, yeah, no. I mean, listen, in this case, it's his choice to die. So,
yes.
You know, and obviously,
if you're just going to die because the vagina you want doesn't want you anymore, like, you have bigger problems. Sorry.
Well, he clearly has a big ego and all this shit.
Sorry, man, but like clearly got enough money to find another vagina.
I know. And what he's arranged here is super elaborate because I'm assuming that his plan is, well, it's really not, because he does hire these goons to show up and off her.
Right. He has a semblance that she has a will to fight, because if you remember, she has like a fucked up life. He like saved her from a fucked up life. So he knows that she's a badass.
Well, she got robbed by these two guys.
I don't think it was robbed. I think it was.
Or assaulted in some way.
Yeah, I think it was like, I think it's supposed to be like a relationship of some kind.
Yeah,
and he saved her from it.
No, I think this guy attacked her, and so he was the prosecutor in the case.
Yes.
Of this guy who attacked her, and he put this guy away.
Yeah, but I think that
he ends up hiring this guy and his brother now to come to the cabin later on in the movie to kill her.
Right. But I think that there's a deeper connection with her and that guy than just that, but maybe I'm wrong.
I think it's just the court case because she met him as he was the prosecutor in the case.
I knew that, yeah.
So I think that's where the concept dies for me, is because I think it was way more savage and brutal for him to set up this elaborate thing where I'm going to drive you out into the middle of nowhere. I'm going to handcuff you to my dead body. And he pulls everything out of the house that could possibly cut the handcuffs off.
Yeah.
Plus she's upstairs, right? So it's like she has to now drag this body down the stairs somehow, which she doesn't do that well. Like she basically falls down. I mean,
she does a pretty damn good job for being the size that she is, and not.
No, but she takes a tumble down these stairs. Like this is he knows that this is going to be an injury waiting to happen.
Right.
I almost would have preferred if like the revenge is just like, good luck getting out of this. Like I want you to die handcuffed to my body. There's no food here. There's no anything to cut these chains off of you. You're just fucked and nobody's here to help you. Uh-huh. So I don't know. Like, what do you think of the whole goons angle? The goons angle is always a bad thing.
Yeah, like, it is, because like you have to make them tough but stupid. But otherwise they're going to win. You know what I mean? Like, it's like by default that they're going to be dumb.
Yeah.
Because like it's two of them versus her. So like you're strong but stupid as fuck. And you just see it coming a mile away.
Yeah, I mean, they try to do this thing where because they're brothers, there's one that's sympathetic and there's one that's just pure evil, right? The Bobby guy is just the pure evil, like prototypical goon. And he's doing this for money, right? Mark has hired him now to kill his wife.
Yeah, wait. See, Bobby is Emma's former stalker. Okay, who 10 years earlier had tried to kill her. She stabbed him in the eye before he was arrested, ultimately serving 10 years in prison. And Mark kills himself because he mentions, I guess we must have missed this, but the police were going to arrest him on multiple counts of tampering with evidence.
I don't remember that part.
Me either. We probably just missed it in the voicemail that she was listening to.
So then that answers your question
and he wanted to take her down with him.
Why he would kill himself when he's rich and should just get another
Right. If he kills himself, then she gets everything they have. And he's like, no.
I mean, story-wise, there's a lot of connective tissue here, right? It makes sense. It's just, I don't know. I think there would have been something a little more interesting. It's almost like a what-if scenario.
Yeah.
We're watching too much of the What If Marvel show.
No,
but the what if it was just she had just to deal with this dead body and it's just a struggle to survive based off of that.
And that there's no one who comes
There's no one coming.
I mean, I think part of it is like, it does make it interesting, like how fast she would have gotten out if she had the dead body. Like she made it all the way to the boat. Like she was going to be done if it wasn't for like the goons, if you will.
Well, she does, when she does make it to that shed or whatever, is when she's able to cut. She does find something to cut off the arm or something. She does get free.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So if the goons aren't there, like the movie's over.
I guess, but you could you're the writer at that point. You could just write it so, you know, she
right
doesn't.
For chaos.
Yeah, you could just write it so she doesn't. Now, I don't know if maybe they just felt like it would be too boring to watch her lug the body around too much.
You needed another bad guy if the guy dies in the fucking first 10 minutes. Right. Like, you need another
I felt like the imminent
antagonist.
The imminent threat of just like, it's almost like the being lost in the desert type of thing, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of what it is. It's like this struggle to survive. It's that, what's the movie?
Frozen?
127 hours. Is it where the climber gets his arm stuck?
Oh, Jesus. I don't know.
I don't remember what it is either. It's something like that. But it was based on a true story where this guy, like, he's out in the middle of nowhere and he gets his arm stuck in between like these two rocks or something like that. And he's basically stuck there trying to get out.
Oh, is that the James Franco movie?
Yes.
I don't remember.
He's there the whole time. So it's not like we've
God.
seen movies where that can work.
Yeah. I mean, Phone Booth, Frozen.
Mm-hmm. There's also that movie, I don't know if you've ever seen it, called Buried with Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah.
He's just in a coffin the whole time.
He's just in the coffin with a lighter, right? And like a flashlight.
And I think for horror, like that stuff works really well where it's like, I mean, you even get a little bit of it with Saw, right? In the first Saw where they're, obviously we go in and out of that location, but that main location where the two guys are just stuck is just like, I love that. There's something really horrific about that.
Yeah. Single setting things are like putting you in the scenario. Like it's one thing to read an article about fucked up shit that happens.
Yeah.
It's another to like watch it play out on screen of like what people would do human nature wise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think like another flaw of it too is like, you know, he arranges for Tom to show up, her lover, right? His colleague. I think he texts Tom from her phone while she's still asleep before he kills himself. Come to this address. I'm in trouble. You got to come.
Whatever it
help
is.
me.
Yeah.
So he arranges for Tom to be there when Bobby and Jimmy are going to be there. So
they all die.
Yeah, they can off Tommy right in front of her. So, you know, there's a little bit of that malicious revenge thing going on. But what happens there is just everything
Small
becomes.
Dick energy.
Yeah. Wow.
That's what it is. Let's call it what it is.
Well, what I was going to say is that things become too predictable, but I was not predicting you were going to say something like that. So there you go. I don't know. I mean, overall, I thought like it's decent tension in this one. The story's okay. I think the concept is what's the coolest bit of this, right? I mean,
yeah.
The acting. What do you think of the acting?
I think Megan Fox gets shit on for no reason.
Mm-hmm.
Back to my comments on Michael Bay, another piece of shit. He kind of like ruined the career for her by like making bullshit because basically she wouldn't let him be a sexist piece of garbage.
I don't know anything about that.
Yeah, it's all the Transformers series and blah, 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 blah. I won't go into it. But I think that she gets shit on, but she does really good work. Like, I don't know. Like, I was engaged in the movie the whole time, even though there's parts that we make fun of. That's our job. That's what we do. But, you know, ultimately, like, I enjoyed it. I'd watch it again just because, like, I like watching her movies. I love Jennifer's Body. Love when she was on New Girl. Mm-hmm. You know? I mean, people like to hate.
I mean, it's on Netflix. I mean, it's an easy thing to throw.
What the hell else are you doing? Probably will come up on your randoms, that new feature.
Yeah. All right. So let's move on to Escape Room. All right. This one came out in 2019.
Yep.
I was unaware of this movie completely. The only reason I knew it existed was because I saw the trailer for the second one.
Yeah.
And we actually, to the point where I put the second one on. Do you remember this?
Yes. And we were like,
and
why are they telling a story?
Yeah, there's like some weird recap in the beginning of the first one.
The way that the first one ends starts the second one. No,
literally, the second one opens with a montage telling you exactly the whole movie of the first one.
But that's part of the ending in the first one. So when they get towards the end scene and they meet the guy, he's telling that story. And it's the exact story that leads the second one. Yeah, yeah.
So I was like, wait, hold on. There's something else. Like,
yeah. We're like, this isn't it. Either way, we knew it wasn't the one we should watch.
Yeah, so we went back and we did watch the first one.
Yeah.
Directed by Adam Robitel. This is the guy who did The Taking of Deborah Logan, which
is pretty
mentioned
good.
Briefly last time. That's all right. I get the stupid paranormal possession garbage movies. Enough.
Sorry that you don't believe in sleep demons.
No, I don't.
Okay, we'll see.
So this one, I'm going to say right off the bat, I'm not a fan of this franchise. And I can't believe they made a second one. But they made a second one, I guess, because they set it up for a second one. And it must have done well enough.
I mean, again, this is another exploitation. Is definitely this theme here. What makes it terrifying and what doesn't? What makes it terrifying is the fact that we go into escape rooms and just trust that someone's not trying to kill us. Okay? That's what makes it terrifying.
I've never once had that thought going into an escape room.
Agreed. But like pretty easily you can get duped, right? People always want, like, once you do a few escape rooms.
You want the more extreme ones. You're like, this one's in a back alley somewhere. We gotta go.
It gets too easy and you're like, okay, I heard about this one and only like 5 people ever gotten out and they never heard from the rest. And you're like, oh yeah, I'm in. Like, we'll get out. Then you're dead, right? So anyway, that's what makes it terrifying. What makes it not terrifying is the way that they did this one. Like, I just feel like, you know, it would have been scarier if they thought they were really in a normal escape room, but it was so obvious that it wasn't.
It's so over the top.
Yeah.
I mean, like literally, they must have spent.
It's like trillions.
They could have spent $100 million making these escape rooms. They're so elaborate.
Yeah, it's insane. Like, you think Squid Game's expensive? At least they're just in like a compound.
This
has like dropping ceilings and
this
upside down
has
rooms.
A lot of parallels to Squid Game, and it just goes to show you, like, there's really good ways of doing stuff like this that
Yeah.
are really terrifying and feel realistic, that are very immersive, and there's really goofy, cheesy ways of doing
I
it.
just think that the actors in this weren't great. Like
They had every single one of these actors is like a legit, like real actor who's in a lot of stuff.
Yeah, but like the main guy towards the end, like terrible.
The acting at the
top
end
two at the end
is so
are the
bad.
two of the worst actors in the whole thing.
Yeah, and they're the biggest no names in the whole
Yeah,
thing.
the
Like
young girl.
They had Deborah Ann Wall, and it's like, oh, okay. Like, I know her from Daredevil. This is cool. And it's like, nope, she's
Just
like
kill her
barely in the movie.
Yeah, you're dead. And so that takes it out too. Like, you take those people out first. Like, there was too many like of the good people that like are gone, and then you're watching towards the end, and I was just like, all right, this is stupid. I don't want either one of these people to win.
Yeah, well, I mean,
So-
one of the things I thought was interesting, but also, again, I don't know that it added enough to the movie for me. But they do a lot of cool things with like little details in this, where
Yeah.
all of the escape rooms relate in some way to
the past of those
the
people.
past of the people.
I loved that.
And how they each one of them had like some sort of a near death experience,
Mm-hmm.
and that gets paralleled in the escape rooms and why they were chosen in the first
and if they
place.
actually were talking about it and trying to learn about each other, they'd make it through. But human nature sets in, and it's an every man for himself. But we all know escape rooms are only successful if you work as a team. And that is the first rule of an escape room. You can't do it alone.
And I mean, even in the first room, like, because it's like it's the waiting room of the place. Like they all get the invite to the place. They go to the waiting room, and then they figure out that the waiting room is like the escape room. Like, this is the room
And
we
they
have to
drink all the
escape
water.
from. Yeah, and it's like they had to like weigh down like the coasters on the table in order to like open a latch that allowed them to escape before like the room turns into like an oven, basically.
Pretty much,
It's
yeah.
about to cook them.
And the water was just enough in the cooler to fill the right amount of cups, and they had drank it because it was getting too hot, and someone was having a panic attack before they had actually played the game. And so it was like a surefire way to make sure someone had to stay behind, but they ultimately make it by the skin of their teeth.
Yeah. I mean, that room is okay, and then they do the thing where they end up in like the cabin or whatever, and the guy gets
The cabin is pretty crazy when they walk outside and it's like freezing.
and it's like freezing, and the guy gets like drowned in the ice lake or whatever.
Sahid from Atypical, my favorite show.
Right? Another Netflix guy.
I
right?
love that show.
That is a good show. Just ended. Yeah. But I think the best room is that upside down.
Oh, the upside down room wins.
Right?
Hands down. It's dope.
And what sucks is like it's kind of the middle of the movie, and then it's just downhill from.
And the song in there,
It
like,
never gets better than
yeah.
that.
What's the song?
Oh, Downtown by Mama Cass.
Downtown. And they're like,
Loved
shut
it.
this fucking song off. But I'm like, this is great.
It's
I would
great.
have been so happy. At least it wasn't like Nickelback.
Dude, I got the lost nostalgia going with that. That's Desmond in the Hatch.
I know. Desmond in the Hatch.
Amazing.
Maybe there's an homage there.
What was with the stupid scene where like I guess they misread the clues, and like they think they have to get the guy's heart rate really high, and they just like keep
Oh,
hitting.
so
I'm like,
he
no.
just kills him.
Like, how do you not figure out that you're just killing him?
Yeah, you're just killing him. It was the one about. It was like a specific clue about like testing your limits. And
okay.
it was
So they
supposed to
thought-
be like test the limits of like how hard he could go with the paddles, and ultimately it was about how calm he could remain in the stress.
Yeah, it was
of
the reverse
situation.
of it.
Yeah. And again, I think it just had something to do with someone's file and someone's situation. It was his, specifically the guy who figured it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, then they do the whole reveal.
That
is,
one's just ridiculous, by the way.
It's stupid.
You don't use those paddles to like calm yourself down. So
Well, no,
it's like no one would ever think that that's what you needed to do.
I don't even think the paddles had like any real use, did they? It
Well-
was just to monitor. He had to get his heart rate really low. Or
Yes,
something
exactly.
Like
Like it was like to trick you. Like it was about
trick, yeah.
making sure that you could get your heart rate as low as possible.
that. Now the whole reveal of this is like it's some corporation or secret organization or whatever that's
Rich
behind
people.
these experiments for the purposes of entertainment.
Yeah, it's that again. My clients want bigger and better and scarier and harder, and it gets crazier every year.
Not scary.
I know, it's like-
just this. It's such a stupid, obvious answer to this question. right? I found myself watching the movie going, this better not be some bullshit where it's like a bunch of rich people made this and are watching it on a monitor somewhere. And that's like kind of what they're alluding to.
No, that is 100% what it is.
And I'm like, oh my God. Like,
that's it.
Listen, when they did Saw, what was interesting about it was that you gave me like
Art.
This kind of serial killer guy who's like kind of sick and twisted. And he had like these real motivations for picking the subjects that he chose. It wasn't about like some stupid thing where like rich people need to be entertained. No. It's like, that's not scary.
Saw was good because it was about truly valuing your life. Mm-hmm. That was like what made it so extra scary, is like it was this guy who has a death sentence. Mm-hmm. And he was like, I'm looking at all of you fucks who have the world world at your fingertips, and you're fucking it up. And I'm sitting here dying, bitch.
Right.
Like, no, now you're going to know how this shit feels. So really making them value their lives. That is what was way more compelling about the Saw franchise, is like, it was like, how dire is it for you to live?
Yeah,
well, that you'll saw your ankle off.
Well, that's just it. Like, he made them, do these sacrifices as part of the escape.
Yeah.
There was a way that they could have injected a lot more horror into this. Mm-hmm. I
100%.
felt like so much of it had to rely on the characters arguing with each other or turning on each other in some way, and it's about teamwork, and that's the only way we're going to get out of this.
Yeah, a lot of the escape roomy theme, and not enough of like story of like why.
I mean, they do have a lot of story in this. It's just not scary.
It's not scary, but it's also just like, it's not done well. I don't know. Like, it was hard to like really follow at some points, and I just think it was like a chaotic storytelling that like you couldn't really have guessed any of it until it got to the end.
When the cops finally show up to this place, it's like, it's not an escape room anymore. It just looks like an abandoned old
empty.
warehouse
that
hasn't been touched. How the
fuck did you get everything out?
I don't know. Again, stupid.
It's no.
Is this
unrealistic?
And is this something that you're meant to like answer that question in the second one? Because I'm out.
Yeah, no. Like, I'd rather see the new Scream coming out in January than this.
Oh my God, you showed me the Scream trailer before this podcast.
Yeah, it's not going to be good, but.
And the fact that it's coming out in January, I'm like, it's going to be awful. Like, they couldn't.
When you said, you're like, oh, January? They know it's going to be bad.
No, because good horror movies come out in September and October. Everybody knows this.
Do you think Halloween is going to be good?
No.
Yeah, so that's coming out Friday.
At the same time, we kind of did talk about.
Is it Friday the 13th?
No. Tomorrow's the 13th.
Oh. Right. 15th.
Yeah. But we did watch the Halloween that came out in 2018. That was another one with Jamie Lee Curtis, right? Mm-hmm. And that movie, I think we talked about it, got great reviews. And we watched it in the theater, which is like, supposed to heighten even the experience of it all. And it's just, I don't know.
Wait, is that the Rob Zombie one we're talking about?
No, Rob Zombie's even way back further than that.
I don't know.
This is like a new thing they're doing with the Halloween series, where it's not, the Rob Zombie was like a reimagining of Mike Myers.
It was the early
This
years.
is literally I think it's taking off of the first movie alone. And it's just flash forwarding all of these years
like
now
nothing
to when
ever happened in
like
between.
Nothing else ever happened in between.
I kind of like that.
And it's picking up from there as like, we're going to continue this
Maybe
story.
we need to like watch Halloween on Thursday and then watch that Friday.
But what I don't understand is like, so Jamie Lee Curtis is now what, in her 60s?
Yeah.
What would Michael be? How old is Michael?
He's younger than her. So he's got to be like 50s, 50s. He had to be like 10 when she was 16.
That much younger.
I don't know.
No, because she's in high school in the first movie.
Maybe they're not making her 60 years old in this movie. Maybe it's not that.
I don't know. It's supposed to be a continuation. Either way, he's an old man now.
He's definitely an old man. But like, again, back to our conversation about Jason. Like, if a disabled boy in a wheelchair can become a 6-foot-tall monster wielding machete, I guess this is fine.
Yeah, but with Jason, there was a certain baked-in assumption that he's a zombie or he's undead of some sort.
But he became an undead zombie who shot up to 6 feet tall as a grown man?
Yeah, no, it doesn't make any sense.
That's what I mean. Yeah. So if that can happen, I'm just saying.
But I'm saying when they establish Jason as the monster of Jason, he's already this giant zombie undead guy that's really impossible to kill. Michael Myers, when he's established, is just like an escaped psychopath.
Yeah.
Right? And even the way that the first movie ends when he falls out the window and they look out and he's gone.
But it's logical, at least, that he's a human.
That makes sense. It's just a human with a wound who went away, and it's like, okay, he can come back. Like, he hasn't sustained any devastating
But that's why I'm
injuries.
saying, like, sure, he can do this at 50.
But now, I have to go back and brush up on what they did, because Halloween as a series was meant to be a little bit more like the next movie we're going to talk about, Trick or Treat.
Love it.
Where it was supposed to be just a series of stories that happen on Halloween night that are scary.
Yeah.
It wasn't supposed to be that Michael Myers was in all of them. He was just the first story.
Yeah, that was
what was
like,
meant to be something that we're going to release these every year.
Isn't
and
that
they're going to
like
be different.
Season of the Witch is one of them, and it
Right.
like was nothing, and then they're like, all right, skip this, fuck it, just bring Michael Myers
They
back.
end up bringing him back, and when they bring him back as, I guess, because of the success that Jason and Freddy had at that point. They brought him back as like this zombie guy,
zombie monster.
Which ever since then I've been. I mean, I think the character is still so scary that I try to watch so many of them, but I hate what they did with it. I just wish they would have kept him in a more realistic
I agree.
way. You know, like, I don't know. There's something about a slasher that keeps coming back that is mortal, because they all seemingly are immortal. Like, you can't kill them.
Always.
But let's talk about Trick or Treat.
Trick or Treat.
Now, I was a little confused. This movie came out in 2007.
So this movie came out, probably around there, because I remember we actually tried watching it like 4 times when we first got together, and it was like impossible to get on.
But this is what confused me, because you and I didn't start dating.
Yeah, it wasn't brand new.
I thought it was.
No, it wasn't brand new.
Yeah, because we had just started kind of dating, and you came over. I was living.
It was like 2009.
2009, end of 2009, probably around Halloween.
Yeah, it probably came out like Halloween 2007.
And you're like, I'm gonna come over. Let's watch scary movies. And I
made pumpkin pancakes.
Did you have the DVD or did I?
No,
it was like a bootleg.
It was some kind of bootleg thing, and then it wouldn't play. It was like the early days of like streaming. I don't even think like Netflix was.
Oh no, there was
the
not
space that Netflix is now. It was probably like rent it for $79.99. Right. But you were trying to stream it in some way, and it would keep freezing at the same part. And I was like, God damn it!
It wasn't working.
This fucking movie. Like,
it wasn't working.
And then we eventually got it, but. It's like nostalgia of that, because it's like one of the first horror movies we like watched together.
Yes, as like
so cute. Oh my goodness.
And you made the pumpkin pancakes with the little
and pumpkin ice cream,
cream
but one
cheese,
other time,
like syrup topping or something.
Cream cheese icing.
Cream cheese icing. No, it was good. I mean, but I was confused because I'm like, I thought that the movie had just come out at that time, but it had been out. So I did a little bit of research. Apparently, this movie never even made it to the theater.
No, it was like a straight release.
But it wasn't supposed to be. It was supposed to be released.
I know.
And then it just ended up being like a straight to DVD thing. I think like maybe 6 or 7 months after it was supposed to be released. Like, it was delayed majorly and then went to like right video on demand.
Give the people what they want.
Which is insane to me, because it's like,
it's so good.
Looking back at this, I'm like, it's such a cult classic, right? Like, the test of time has really proven that this is, to me, this is a Halloween staple film.
I love it. It has a little feel of like a Disney movie that turned horror.
What do you mean?
So like the way that they build the town, the way that the characters are, the way that it's like, oh, Halloween in this town is so big and epic. There's literally a show from Disney called like Halloween Town.
Oh, I don't know of this.
It's terrible. You would never watch it.
Okay.
But it's like as if that movie had a crazy serial killer pumpkin kid running around.
Okay.
So like I love it because it like has this like nostalgia-y feel of Halloween and what it was like to be a kid, especially for us, because I think Halloween was like that more so for us than it is now.
I don't know that I've ever seen a town this tricked out for Halloween. It would be amazing.
My town was pretty big.
I don't see it. We drive around and we get so depressed that like nobody decorates for Halloween.
Understand though, because I try to go shopping this year and last year and everything is fucking gone. Where are you hoarding it?
You're not putting it out.
Is it just like the crazy religious people? Like, no skeletons on the lawn this year. And they're just fucking hoarding it and melting it down. Like, I don't understand where it all goes.
I don't know, because like the whole set piece of Trick or Treat, it's so cool because the whole town is so lively with Halloween.
Pumpkins
and I'm just
everywhere.
I'm like, God damn it, this is just gone and it's not coming back, is it?
Yeah, see? But you like that, but then you're mad that I was about to buy $100 worth of pumpkins at the pumpkin patch. See? But you know how much their pumpkins were?
You bought almost $100 worth of pumpkins
did.
at the pumpkin patch.
Close. And it was worth it.
Well, here's the thing, is the specific pumpkin patch that you always want to go to, we have to park 50 fucking miles from where the pumpkins are.
It's worth it.
And I'm the schmuck that has to carry all those pumpkins in the wagon from the field all the way to the car. Well, so yeah, when you load up a wagon with more pumpkins than it's intended to have, where I'm going over bumps, pumpkins are falling out the side.
Not. This is an exaggeration.
Oh my God.
I have to go to that one because that's where you can pull the pumpkin off the vine. I don't want to go where they're just going to pick them and throw them on a fucking tarp and be like, hey, find the pumpkin. I would go to Whole Foods and pull it out the bin. Like, why am I going to go be around all these kids screaming and yelling and shit if I'm not going to actually do the real thing?
Listen, I enjoy it too. It's just a lot of pumpkins to haul.
I didn't ask to be born a woman. You didn't ask to be born a man. This is what it is.
This is my gender role.
All right. Trick or treat.
Pumpkin hauling.
But anyway, yeah. Pumpkins everywhere. And it's such a very main focal point of this movie. Yeah. That you can't smash your pumpkins before Halloween is over.
Yeah. I mean, this one is written and directed by Michael Dougherty. He did Krampus and Godzilla. He wrote the best X-Men movie as far as I'm concerned, X2. Which was directed by Bryan Singer, who produces this movie. And if you want to talk about your all-time Hollywood scumbags, Bryan Singer is at the fucking top of that list. He's
pretty top. I know. It sucks.
I hate this guy.
Maybe that's why I never went to theaters. They're like, fuck.
I'm going to guess, this is just a purely random guess, that this movie not being released in theaters had something to do with some bullshit that was going on with him. I'm going to guess.
Oh, shots fired.
But nonetheless... Michael Dougherty, the writer and director of this film, did a wonderful job, I thought. So it's got it's that horror anthology type, right? Where we get the
story within a story within a story.
Yeah, the mini stories that kind of tell the bigger story.
They overlap a little here and there.
What's awesome is how they overlap it, though, because they're all out of time.
Yeah.
Right? It's like a lot of things is we see something that says earlier or later or earlier. They don't really tell us exactly what time of night we're in sometimes. Yeah. But I just love that. I love that cool little bounce around technique, just works so well. Because I think when you have little stories like this and characters that sort of intersect across the stories, it's neat when you you see things that you've already seen before, but it happens in somebody else's story. You're like, oh, that's that part.
Shit, that's that part over there. Look. Right. Yeah, I love that too. It's like the little Easter eggs of
it keeps
setting
you
up the
engaged.
scene.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's, again, you're just watching exactly what happened on that night. Mm-hmm. Paralleled. I love it. It's just so good.
It's so good.
And the way that they do the characters, I think. I don't know, you're going into the first guy?
No, I'm not. I'm just going to kind of jump around on this one. I'm not going to go all the way through. But we did get an answer to, funnily enough.
Your question?
Yeah, last episode we did the head-to-head, and you had picked werewolves as one of your worst monsters to be real.
Yeah.
And I had asked, has there ever been the female werewolf, right? And we couldn't think of it. And I'm like, there has to be. It's too obvious. And fucking sure as shit, I didn't remember this.
I know.
Trick or Treat has the female werewolf team led by Anna Paquin.
Yep. Where I think it's natural in the movie to think it's witches, right? Because immediately it's
I thought it was, and I had seen the movie before. I was waiting for that.
It's like witches or vampires. 3 hot young girls, and it's you think they're going to go the cliche of they're going to turn into a witch or a vampire. Nope. They just go full on, now I'm going to sprout fur, claws, I'm going to be enormous and just rip you to shreds. I'm a werewolf, bitch. Take it.
Also amazing that they go practical with the werewolf.
Yeah.
It's God damn it. If I ever get a real budget to make a real horror movie, I'm going all practical, man.
Yeah. It's so much better.
That's the way to do horror.
It is. When horror gets too CGI, I'm done.
It sucks.
When the blood splatters look so wild, I'm playing Mortal Kombat. I'm good.
Yeah.
It looks bad. Don't tell yourself that your blood splatters are going to look great. They look cartoony.
I'm a little worried about that, honestly, because the thing that I'm shooting in our location, we kind of made a good deal on the location with the owners because it happens to be in the building that our office is in. So we're a tenant of theirs.
Yeah.
I don't feel great about spraying blood all over the place, especially because like they're kind of giving me the space for free.
How blood spraying are you going to be?
It's funny though, because
sometimes the blood spray is so comical, like not going to happen, and you still pay the money to do the CG on it. And it's like, but it's not even realistic blood splatters. And that's what makes it worse.
Well, that's what I mean is like, if I had my druthers, I would just spray real practical blood all over the place, but I feel weird about doing it. And it's funny because like if you go into this location, it's completely abandoned and hasn't been touched in 30 years plus. Like nobody's upkeeping this. Does anybody give a fuck if there's fake blood on the wood floor that's already looks like it's drenched in blood? Probably not.
I feel like there's ways that you could shoot it where it'd be fine, where you could have tarps down.
That's what I'm gonna have to work
and
around,
just like be creative with the shot.
Yeah,
like so that there's
because I don't want to do those CG blood splatters.
No, because they're so bad. They are bad. I will call it out. I will not allow it.
I'll call it out on myself.
No, we're not putting our name on this.
What do you think of the principal's story with his son?
Oh, that's the one I was going to go to when I asked you where you were going.
Go to that one.
So creepy. Definitely the creep on the block. We all had them. If you were a trick-or-treater, and he's the principal of the school, which, yeah, like, first of all, nobody was trick-or-treating at the principal of the school's house. You were probably toilet papering it or egging it. Let's just be real. So it's interesting that the kids go there and just like the way that he is perfect, in my opinion. They do such a great job of making him feel like a complete psychopath.
Yeah.
To the point where it's like, oh, he plays the loving dad and like his dad needs to be there and blah, blah, blah. And then you get the twist.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I love the whole play on, again, the play on not only horror homages that they have, but just on Halloween in general, like the whole shtick of like, always check your candy.
Yeah.
Right. And that's how he gets his victim is like he feeds this kid bad candy and he, the kid just makes like projectile vomit.
The projectile vomit.
Yeah, it gets you.
I can't.
When it's fake like this, it doesn't get me, but I can't watch real people.
It was the sound. Vomit. They nail the sound effect. Mm. They nail the projectile nature of it. What I will say, though, is when he's burying the kid.
And his son just keeps yelling out the window. His fucking son
just yelling out the window. And he's going, Billy, go inside, be quiet. And it's so long. And I'm like, everyone hears you.
Yeah, it's relentless.
Everyone hears you. Like, this isn't working. Like,
it's
and
great.
It happens so many times that I'm just like, but this is also realistic. Like, that's how annoying kids are.
Yeah.
Like, insane.
Yeah, because he wants them to help him carve the jack-o'-lantern.
Is it time?
Yeah.
It's not time yet. First.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so good in that sense of like, you think he's this nice, dad to his kid hiding that he's this crazy person.
I mean, it's interesting. Like I look at something like this and I felt a little stupid because I had just tried to come up with like a short horror thing, right?
Yeah.
That just like a few characters and you just like tell a little bite-sized story like this and you get to the point, which is so great. Like the twist is that it's not a jack-o'-lantern that they're carving, it's the kid's head.
Yeah.
And he's literally brought how old do you think his son is?
No, his son's like 7, 8.
Which is just so dark and twisted.
That's what I mean. It's super dark.
The fact that he is teaching his son how to carve out a dead human's decapitated head as a jack-o'-lantern at 7 years old. And it's like, that's how you write like a short story that has a lot of impact.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. It's like the most insane thing you could have written and it's so quick and it's over.
Yeah. Instead, we couldn't figure out how to do that because we're just writing something for the first time. So we ended up with like this way more elaborate story than we probably needed. Because when you look at an example like this, you're like, oh, it can just be that simple.
Oh, yeah. It can just be like, what's the darkest thing possible? Great. How do we get there?
Yeah. I love seeing Brian Cox in this. Now that I think about it, Brian Cox, he plays the villain William Stryker in the X-Men 2 movie, and Anna Paquin plays Rogue. So he just brought over like friends from the X-Men cast to do this. Because I was thinking, I'm like, how did he get Brian Cox to be in this movie? Like, this is not a movie that Brian Cox would be in.
Even Anna Paquin, I want to say, like at the time, wasn't True Blood a thing? Or no, was that after?
Maybe around the time.
I think True Blood.
But she was really famous for Rogue.
She was also famous for True Blood.
But Rogue was first.
Well, Rogue was first. That's what I mean. Like, you have X-Men, you have True Blood, where now she's really at her height. Like, X-Men propelled her, True Blood sustained her. And
I think True Blood's probably a little bit after this. Probably right after this.
I know my sister watched it, so like it has to be around that time.
I did watch, like, I want to say the first couple seasons of True Blood, but it doesn't sustain.
Again, vampire is not our thing.
It doesn't hold. I think the Brian Cox story, though, with the Sam character it's such a fitting way to end the movie.
The Sam character.
And the Sam character, to me, the Pumpkinhead, it feels like at this point we have to consider this to be like a classic horror character.
It is. I keep teasing and going, should I get the life-size Sam?
Yes, we should.
No, but then I think like you should get the life-size Sam from like the Chucky. Like we got that, but
I don't know. I have to check and see if they make one. I think the one that was put out by Trick or Treat Studios, I think is the name of it, where I got my Krampus robe from.
Yeah, I mean, we just need a good one, but I do want him.
How do you think I should have looked this up. How do you think they did the pumpkin head on Sam? It didn't look CG to me, but it also didn't look animatronic.
Maybe it's
a hybrid.
I think it's probably like a Chucky hybrid.
Yeah, maybe they did a little bit of CG on a practical thing.
I think there's probably a little CG to like move the eye features and everything, but that it's probably a prosthetic like mask, like a latex that makes it look more real, but still creepy. I mean, I love him. He's like his little candy, and the fact that he's just like, just give him candy and he goes the fuck away. Like, it's Halloween, bitch. It's the basics.
Again, like
trick or treat. You don't give me the treat, you're getting the trick. That's how this goes.
Yeah, that's what's so fun about this movie is how Halloween this movie is.
It's the epitome of Halloween, and every reason why I loved it as a kid is like, give me treats.
Or I'm going to trick.
Yeah, or there's tricks up my sleeve and you don't want to see them.
No, you don't want to see Sam's tricks because he's devastating. Like, even when the Brian Cox character manages to get the better of him, like he kind of blows him apart with the the shotgun?
Yeah.
He just fuses back together. He's just a forever Halloween demon.
He's the best.
Which is what I love about it. It's like, oh, no. These are the rules of Halloween.
Like, it's Halloween. I'm still here.
You can't skirt the rules of Halloween because you got a shotgun guy. Like, no, it's trick or treat. You're either going to give me the treat or you're going to get the trick. You can shoot me a million times. You could blow me up. You could throw me in the fire.
It's very simple.
I'm going to come back to life because I am just Halloween.
Yeah. And I love that his weapon is the razor blade sharp, just rock candy lollipop, like the thing that would definitely cut your tongue when you ate it and bit into it. And they were like, yes, we're going to show you that actually is a weapon. It's great.
Yeah.
I love it. And a little bite mark in it.
Yeah.
I'm going to go buy him now.
I don't know. I can't tell if this is a criticism of the film or not. Okay. But you can kind of make the argument that it is kind of a little bit like, minus some of the gore parts. It is kind of like, it could have been scarier. It could have been more like gruesome and darker. It kind of is a little family friendly, a little bit. Like, you can probably,
aside from killing children and carving their faces like a jack-o'-lantern,
but they don't show you that. It's just in
sexual
concept.
Werewolves.
Yeah, but again, they don't show
Rapes.
you. They don't show you anything crazy with that. They're just suggestive.
It is, but I think like what makes this magical is your point of like, it's true Halloween depicted. It's like, in a perfect world, if that town exists, first of all, to all of our gracious fans, if this town exists somewhere where I can go live, please tell me.
Yeah, what's the best Halloween town to live in?
Yeah, like I need to find the next place to live, and don't tell me it's Salem in Massachusetts.
We should just ask this as like a question on the stories.
Yes, I'm going to ask it until I get the answer. Like, someone tell me where there's a town that celebrates Halloween to the level of Trick or Treat, because that is where we're going to move.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's where I belong.
I don't know if those places exist.
Well, then we'll have to make it.
Well, we try. I mean, it's kind of funny, like some of the reactions that we get from the kids that do come and trick or treat at our house, because it is a little. Last year, you had literally body parts.
Oh, that's gonna happen. I have to this weekend.
All over the porch.
Yeah, usually I have our scary man. That's what my grandma used to call it, the scary man.
The scary man.
And the scary man sits on like the deck. Yeah. And what we did with this was I used to have a sign, and it got ruined, that says body parts for sale.
Right.
And all rancid items must go. So I have this guy sitting there with his knife, and then I have all the body parts hanging from the rail on like twine. I have heads, arms, legs, organs, whatever the hell. Then I usually have a graveyard set up. Then some other times I was doing like the mannequins, like the scary guys on the lawn. Yeah. So I try to change it up, but I really think like the body part thing is my calling. It's the most savage.
It gets the biggest reaction. I remember the woman that lives directly next door to us making a comment to me. I think I was just either I was leaving for work or I was coming in from like getting the mail or something like that, and she's like telling me how terrifying our house is.
Yes. That's
and
what
she
I want.
definitely seems like, she's definitely a sweet lady, but she seemed like she might have been like a little bit of a religious type.
Yeah, probably felt
maybe
like maybe I should tell
her
them this and they'll tone it down. I won't.
No.
I'm just going to double down next year. Sorry.
All right. I mean, so that's what we have for this pod. And if you haven't seen Trick or Treat,
please watch it.
I highly recommend it. The other two, meh.
I would watch till death.
You're up. You're here for till death.
I'm selling Megan Fox all day long.
Okay.
Just saying, better than Jessica Biel.
I don't know.
Okay. No, you're just being ridiculous.
Jessica Biel in Texas Chainsaw Massacre versus Megan Fox.
Anytime.
What is Megan Fox's prime?
Transformers, Jennifer's Body.
Probably. Well, Transformers. She's very young.
She's very young. It's like offensive. Probably Jennifer's Body is ideal.
I think I lean Jessica Biel.
Ugh, ridiculous. If I like hated myself and needed to go to a surgeon tomorrow and said make me look like X, probably would be Megan Fox.
I think I'm going to go out on a limb and say Jessica Biel is classier, a little more sophisticated. Wouldn't date somebody like Machine Gun Kelly after he said my name is weed. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Jessica Biel. I think she'd be. I think
we're not talking personality.
Well, that's part of it. That's part of what makes, yes, it is.
We're not talking personality. You don't know Jessica Biel's personality.
That's part of what makes people attractive is their personality.
You don't know either of them to know their personality, so that's not what we're talking about.
Fine.
She also stayed with a guy who cheated on her publicly, which tells me she's a weak woman.
I'm saying on a surface level, I'm assuming that Jessica Biel is the more fun hang of the two.
Whatever. Megan Fox all day. That's our new head-to-head, everybody. Megan Fox versus Jessica Biel. That's coming your way.
That's how we're gonna end it.
That's how we're gonna do this. That's actually gonna be our tiebreaker because our head-to-head ended on a 50-50, which is some bullshit.
This happens way too often to us.
It's ridiculous. Yeah. It's unacceptable.
All right. Well, that's it.
I've exhausted him for the evening.
I really want to try, I think we're going to try to do like an all Halloween episode next time with just the Halloween movies, the Mike Myers stuff.
Oh, snap.
I guess we'll explore the newer ones. Because I really want to watch the new one that just came out. Yeah, even though they give away the whole movie in the trailer. I
haven't watched the full trailer.
Like I know everybody who dies already. Like they show you like deaths in the trailer. I'm like, these are getting out of hand.
I know. I don't understand. Like trailers don't need to be 5 minutes. No. Anyway, before I go into another tangent.
All right. Well, remember,
we don't give awards for art.